orange and blue sunset in Mile High here in Broncos country. Let's get ready to ride. Russ and the rest are gonna light up the sky. We'll break it down after the game with the guys. Hometown heroes with their own sports bar. The best coverage in Denver, don't go too far. Just turn on DNVR. We are
DNVR Broncos live on a lovely Monday in the Mile High City. And I can't really think of anything else I need. Oh, DraftKings Sportsbook as our presenting sponsor. So everyone who had that ticket cashed it at DraftKings Sportsbook. I see you, Ryan McAllister. And you actually helped, so thank you. Shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook. Head over there, use the code DNVR to get in on all of their great deals. How'd you guys do on DraftKings this weekend?
Whew, it was a rough start. Stayed away from college to make sure. Started off rough, courtesy of the Green Bay Packers, but then ended on a high note. So I'm feeling good on this Monday. I'm going to consider it a victory Monday for me because we don't have to worry about a Broncos loss this weekend.
Nice.
So true. I came out ahead.
There you go.
It was almost a really big day. Honestly, I'm kind of... it's disappointing I came out ahead because I woke up at... like 8:30 or so, and the Giants were down. Grabbed them at plus 780 on the money line. They came back and won. Oof. But then things were bad after that. Like the Browns missed that field goal. Mm-hmm. Cardinals missed their field goal at the end. There were some issues,
crazy.
but it all worked out. I came out just barely ahead.
Wait, so what happened with Kyler? Because you texted like, I can't believe Kyler did that. I wasn't watching the game.
Oh.
What did he do? Because and then I just saw the highlights and they didn't show anything like crazy.
That's like the most important part to show.
They just showed the missed field goal, and they showed how he missed the field goal in warm-ups like four times.
Yeah.
I know
He
they
literally
kept showing that before he kicked, and everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know."
I want to take the audio from that and do it of me on the driving range, just ballooning slice drives, and then like gets up to the first tee, and they're like, "He was struggling with this all day in warm-ups. Let's see what happens here," and then I just do it again.
All right.
So 2nd and 10.
Okay.
Kyler.
This was last drive, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kyler runs for about 9-ish yards and then slides.
Okay, I did see this.
To get what would have been the first down under previous rules because he wasn't touched. But now with the rule, wherever you start the slide is where you're down. So he's down 1 yard short, and he thinks it's a first down.
And
Cliff
Cliff is
Kingsbury thinks it's a
calling
first down.
for first
Apparently,
down.
the scoreboard in the stadium says first down, but it's really 3rd and 1. Spike the ball. Now it's 4th and 1. They have to attempt the field goal from further back rather than they probably would have had time for like 2 or 3 more plays to get closer.
So what did Kyler do wrong?
Spiked it on 3rd and 1.
Situational
Even though
awareness.
everyone was saying it was a first down.
I mean, everyone.
Look at the sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
take a
All you
peek.
have to do is look over
Or the
and
refs,
see where they're
yeah.
But
lining up.
doesn't Kyler also, or doesn't Cliff take
Of course.
I think it's
Yeah,
both
of
of them.
course.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
how much time was left?
20
22?
seconds.
With no timeouts.
Yes.
So, I mean, what should he have done? Got snuck it for the first down and then spike?
I
and then you
would've
have
thrown
like
it.
one more throw outside?
I would have just
Yeah.
gone like quick out.
Yeah, a little slant or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
or that, yeah.
And then if you don't get it, well, then it's 4th down anyways.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because there's no time.
It's one of
issue
those
with the
things where,
spike.
like, when you do that, you're just not going to make the field goal. Like, you mismanage it, you're, like, all the vibes are going against you.
Especially with
birds,
that terrible
though.
kicker. You know, it made me think, we were talking about McManus last week. It's like, yeah, you can't be paying him $4 million. There's a lot of bad kickers and a lot of teams that have had a lot of years with bad kickers. You don't want one of these guys who just misses at the last second.
How long was the kick?
50-ish.
Okay, to be fair, McManus is...
Actually, I think it was 47.
I think it was 40.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was-
In the 40s.
if it was in the 50s, McManus is below average from 50 and above.
Yeah.
Just to be fair.
I think,
But,
yeah,
yeah.
it was. I think it was like 47 because I think Kyler slid down on the 30.
There's just like this tier of kickers where like there's like 10 or 12 kickers who are just like good kickers.
Yep.
And everybody else is just a crapshoot. And it makes sense to move on from expensive kicker, but also
It'd be cool
if you get stuck with that Amendola guy who's missed 2 game winners already, ugh.
Yeah, it'd be cool if the Broncos kicker, who's like above average, didn't cause drama and shit.
That too.
It'd just be cool if they had Justin Tucker.
That would be
Justin
very
Tucker,
cool.
So, I
God.
mean, on the game-winning kick, it was as perfect as could be.
Did you see the stat that came out? It was like, if the field goal post was only a half yard wide, he still would have made it.
Yeah, just insane. He's so good.
And that
Would that
interview
be-
after.
Would you guys support that if they put post in the middle that was 1 yard wide, and if you made it there, you got 4 points?
It's a perfect game. Let's not ruin it.
It was.
No, don't need any changes.
It's not a perfect game. There's things that
game.
can absolutely
Perfect
be
game.
changed.
Still got a fixed spot in the ball. Did you see the one in the CSU game?
No.
That was bad.
In
yeah.
the CSU game, Nevada hasn't scored all day, and they have the ball at like their own 1 yard line. And on 3rd and 5 or whatever, the dude gets like maybe 3 yards, and they just spot it for a first down, and then they ended up scoring on that drive for their first points of the game.
But shout out CSU getting a win.
Yes,
got
they
the
did
win.
something the Broncos tried to do, which was win a game without scoring an offensive touchdown. 17-14 the final with 2 defensive touchdowns. That is capitalizing on your opponent's ineptitude.
But they had the big 43-yard drive at the end, their longest drive of the day to set them up for field goal range, which then got helped by
Oh
a
my
running
God.
into the kicker, and then they got the next one.
Nevada could not have given the game to them anymore.
Yeah, very much so.
All their
was-
points, what?
It was 43 yards, the field goal, by the way.
Oh, okay, so even closer. Yeah, you got to make that one.
Yep.
What was the Browns kick?
I think that one was 47, but I
Maybe.
could be wrong.
Or maybe that.
I knew he
I
was
thought there was a
missing that shit.
53 one at some point.
We're closer to the Chargers, so we talk a lot about the Chargers charging, but no one is more powerful at this than the Browns. In fact,
Wow.
the Chargers have won like 2 games in their last 17 when they trailed at 14 at any point. Both wins were against the Browns.
Yep, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
So the Browns are the only team stronger than the Chargers at charging.
And their savior is Deshaun Watson, which, what a savior to have.
Yeah, well, I mean, that
I don't mean that in a good
interception by
way.
Brissett,
Yep.
jeez, that's essentially
Yeah.
the Russ interception.
Yeah, brutal.
And
He's been so good too.
I know. He's like really clean, but he's had like just really
Yep.
untimely turnovers.
I mean,
Yep.
and that's why Jacoby Brissett's a really good backup. You would feel really good about him being a backup anywhere, but when you ask him to play 10 games, that's a really tough ask.
And if Jacoby Brissett was the Broncos backup, we might be having a different conversation right now, because news comes out this weekend that Russ's injury to his shoulder is worse than maybe it seemed over the last week or so. Not necessarily surprising that the news that it's worse comes out after he played bad,
Not at all.
but it's a legitimate injury that he's dealing with, and something that puts the Broncos in a really odd spot.
Very interesting spot. So let's just look at what this injury is. Russ has a partially torn lat near his right shoulder. That's why they're calling his shoulder, is because it impacts that.
Can you use that Harry Potter-esque word that is the whole name?
The strained latissimus dorsi.
Yes. Latissimus dorsi.
I saw that tweet first. And I was like, oh, latissimus dorsi. Like, yeah, what? I don't know what that is. Like, whatever. And then somebody later tweeted, oh, it's a lat. I was like, oh, a lat? No, that's horrible. A lat?
It could also be like one of the names from like the Key and Peele skit, like
Right.
Latissimus dorsi, Colorado.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I believe Adam Schefter reported that he suffered the injury in the second quarter. So this impact of the Raiders game. So this impacted him for more than just that Charger, or more than just the Colts game. And we kind of thought that maybe the injury happened at the end of the Raiders game. So that's kind of another wrinkle thrown onto this. And so Russ, on Friday, when his team was in the building, he flew to Los Angeles to get the PRP injection, which is essentially it's a way to help heal things quicker. Typically, they don't do this for this injury, but they're just taking a shot. Seeing
Quite literally.
Yeah. He took an injection, took the shot, just to see if it helps. A lot of times, and we saw this with Dak Prescott last year, you sit out a month potentially, and you don't throw for a month when
Can't
this
do it.
injury happens. Russ, not only did he not sit out a month, he played 4 days later without this injection. Now, I guess the good thing is he does have 10 days from the last time he played the injection until he plays 1 week from today.
Yeah. This is bad. This is really bad. Because the Broncos aren't in a position to rest him. Now, if they hadn't completely and utterly blown 2 football games that they should have won, they'd be 4-1 right now. And they might actually have been able to get away with this. He might have been able to say, hey, okay, we've got this 12-day break. Let's play Brett against the Chargers and against the Jets, and then we'll see where we're at there. Just don't have that luxury anymore. You're 2-3. Essentially, you're staring down the barrel of the end of your season if things go awry here in the next few weeks. And I think the Broncos' kind of thought process on this is he's got to play. If things do go awry, then we can rest him later.
My question, though, you said the Broncos are at this point. The Broncos have to decide. Are the Broncos deciding any of this when it comes to Russ? Which
I think they would have the power to sit him down.
Think so?
Yes.
Yep.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think so. I think if Russ wants to go, and that's kind of the interesting thing. We talked about how things could get a little interesting when issues come up because he has his team, the Broncos have their team. This was something where Russ flew out to LA, did it with his own people. Russ has his own medical people, and I'm not
as he should. Team doctors aren't trustworthy.
I'm not sure who is calling the shots on this. I think at the end of the day, it's Russ saying, I'm playing, and the team says, okay, yeah. I mean, if you're ready to go, we certainly want you.
No team, I was going to say, no team would ever not want their starting quarterback to play if their starting quarterback said they could play.
So I think this is in Russ's hands
It
of
could be.
deciding this. But then my question is, what's better? An injured Russell Wilson in 1 week from today or Brett Rippon?
Russ.
So then, if that's the case, Russell Wilson has really struggled this year compared to how good he typically can be, especially on Thursday against the Colts, which we most recently saw him with this injury. Is that an indictment on the Broncos' backup quarterback situation? Because if putting a guy out there that just threw 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, without a doubt cost the team the win probably multiple times on Thursday night, if you don't have a backup that you feel can come in, just steady the ship for 1 week, is that an indictment?
I don't think so. I mean, even if it's, Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah.
Is he probably the best backup? I'd still take Russ this week. I still think Russ is better.
I go back to the conversation that we had talking
better,
about
but-
Justin Herbert and the Chargers a couple of weeks ago, and now we're in this same position. Take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and I think when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, if you had a backup you felt comfortable with, I think that's the route you go. But then, Ryan, you mentioned it, Broncos are in... we're probably going to say this word a lot this week. Must win. This is a must-win game in 1 week from now. So the Broncos are in a really weird position, and it's just it's a really bad spot, honestly, when you look at everything.
We can debate the whole must-win thing back and forth.
We will.
I don't know if I'm
If
quite
you don't
ready.
think it is.
I'm not quite ready to go there, and I could explain why, but I think we have plenty of time to do that this
We
week.
do.
I agree with you. If Jacoby Brissett is your backup quarterback, I think this is a different conversation.
Really?
That's how I led into this segment. Because I think you say I think we can beat them. And we just saw Jacoby Brissett can beat the Chargers if his kicker can just make a field goal.
Yeah.
Now, he also could have just gotten him a nice short field goal by not throwing that interception. Right. But either way, I do believe that you can get that win. There's really not enough evidence on Brett Rippon, and maybe that's the issue. But now, I don't even want to talk Josh Johnson because he was clearly worse than Brett Rippon. So it's not like you made that mistake. But if you had a legit backup, if you had a Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you had one of those guys that you feel like can
There's
go...
so few, though.
I know.
Like, Ryan Fitzpatrick's even retired, you know?
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, those guys who have been backups, who have also been successful starters at different points in their career, you might feel... You would feel a lot more comfortable saying, Russ, let's get this thing healed because we're going to need you down the final stretch. Problem for the Broncos is they just need him too much right now. They need Russ to be Russ right now, and it might be a thing that they can't even have, but they need it.
Exactly. And that's why, regardless of who the backup is, it's Russell Wilson this week. And it just has to be. Because even if Jacoby Brissett could win this game, it's not about is it possible. It's about who gives you the best odds of doing it, because you need to get 2 of these next 3, and at least 2 of them are going to be pretty tricky games. So I don't think you have the luxury of doing anything but playing Russell Wilson regardless of the circumstance. You just have to hope it doesn't get worse. And, if you go 0 for 3, then plenty of time to rest him after.
Well, and that's where I'm at, though, is you better hope that something doesn't happen. And by the way, he's going to have a backup left tackle. He may have a backup right guard. He's likely potentially going to have either a backup right tackle or a right tackle making his first start of the season if Billy Turner plays. So it's a really tough position. Now, I don't need to push for playing Brett Rippon because that's just simply not going to happen. Russell Wilson is saying that he's going to play. The Broncos, like you said, Ryan, they're not going to hold him back if he's saying that he's ready to play. But how much slack should Russ and the Broncos be given for Thursday night's performance? Knowing this news after the fact, we knew there was an injury, but now we know more specifics.
I think one of the biggest reasons that you keep Russell is just because you have so many issues just with this offense and how it's being run. Like beyond the arm, you just need to keep getting reps, and see if you can figure this thing out mentally. Maybe half of his mistakes on Thursday were mental, half were because of the arm. I think that if you get rid of the mental half, he's still maximum getting a C-. So I don't. You give him a little bit of slack on a couple of the missed throws, but the mental mistakes are really what are so killer for this team.
So really quick, you said you give him a little bit of slack, but then you said 50% of it was physical. Which one are you? Are you?
Oh, it's
how much slack are
50%
you
physical,
giving him? Okay.
but that's
Wow.
only a little bit of slack because everything was so terrible.
Well, it's very nice of you because I'm not going that far.
I think he deserves a little bit of slack. And it's not a lot because of what you said. Like, his shoulder hurting didn't stop him from reading any other player other than Cortland Sutton on the last play. There's other mental mistakes in there. But you can look to certain plays. Like, I wish I could remember who posted this today, but someone posted an all-22 throw from the Raiders game. And you can see right after Russ lets it go, he's laboring that shoulder, and it ended up behind his receiver. And so then you look forward to that Colts game, and there's a throw to Tyree Cleveland, which ends up behind him. And you're wondering, like, okay, is he so used to just being able to rip that thing? And for whatever reason, because of that injury, it's just not firing. It didn't come out with the same speed. It didn't, cut through the air the way that he's used to. Maybe that leads to that. Again, you'd like him to have the self-awareness of knowing, hey, I don't know if I can make this throw right now. Also, to just tap into that play a little bit, Tim Jenkins, who I think does a really good job of breaking this stuff down, said he's like very confident that Tyree Cleveland was supposed to run an in there, a dig route, like coming across rather than fading into the back of the end zone. Obviously we don't know the play call, so we don't know what it was supposed to be, but that's a bad look anyway. Anyways, the injury could have affected him there. You think like the throw where he just throws it up, right? Just plays 500 and it ends up in the safety's hands. Like, is he just so scared to get hit in that moment because of the pain that he's just like, I got to get rid of this thing? You can start to look around that game, and if you're looking through it through the eyes of this guy's hurt, he's not himself. Is this why he did that? Then you can give him a little slack. Other than that, though, the some of the mistakes are just so glaringly bad that it's like, you can't blame the injury for all of this.
Yeah, I mean, for me and why I'm only giving him a little bit of slack is just because, Henry, I think it was way more mental than physical for him in that game. Just the bad reads, that's not something that you can blame on a shoulder injury. Now, maybe was he thinking about it a little too much? Sure, but still, when it comes down to decision-making, you got to be making good decisions. If you're on that field, you better be making good decisions without thinking about your shoulder.
And real quick, there's a lot of stuff that was missed in that game, not in terms of a bad read that ended in a bad result, but it's like they've got this concept where you're going like a shallow over and a deep over behind it, and eventually KJ comes wide open on it. Yeah. But Russ is rushed, so he just dumps it down. And it's like, is he rushed because he's really trying to avoid contact? And this is where I'm sure people are going to say, well, if that's the case, it should have been the backup. It's never going to be.
No.
Like, I truly believe if the quarterback can play and says he can play, he's always going to play. But you do look at that, like, that's weird because it's a bad decision that ended in a completion. You know what I mean?
Right. And the two plays, the two instances I'd really point to and say maybe that play deserves a break is the one where he threw deep to Cortland, and then the very next play they tried to do like the exact same play again. And clearly the second one, there was a miscommunication. The first one, it was just a really bad throw. I'll give him a break on that one. Maybe that was an accuracy issue due to the shoulder. And then the other one where Jerry Jeudy is just wide open, and Russ is supposed to throw it. If he throws it to the sideline, Jerry's catching it easily, but instead he throws it way upfield, and it just doesn't give Jerry that opportunity. Maybe that was an accuracy one as well. But again, I'm not even like that confident to give him a full break. But those are the two plays that really jump out to me. But arm strength, in terms of being able to throw the ball downfield, wasn't an issue because he let it go a couple of times. And so to me, I'm only giving Russ a little bit of a break here, and you just hope that the shoulder is not something that bothers him that much, or at least that he's thinking about next week.
There was that wheel route to Jerry up the sideline where he was wide open too, and just lobbed over. The one where he could have like dove and taken the hit and probably not caught it.
Right.
Like that's one where a better throw was an easy catch.
Really quick,
Well, his earlier
interesting.
throw would have been the big thing.
Or earlier or harder, either one.
I believe it was that one. After the game, Russ said, like, I thought we had KJ on a touchdown there, which was...
Or Jerry or KJ?
I'm sorry, Jerry.
That
Jerry.
makes more sense. Yeah.
And I thought, damn, is that a little shot? And I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think it was referring to that one because Jerry did not dive for it.
From my, I assume if Russ's view of it was anything like my view of it, I was thinking the same thing.
Yep.
On the replay,
I think he gets hands
needed
on
a
it.
much better throw.
Yep. I think
No doubt.
he'd get hands on it and he'd get hit as he did.
Yeah.
And does DeAndre Hopkins make that catch? Yeah, probably. Most receivers don't, and Jerry Jeudy is definitely part of that most.
Yeah.
A better throw, though, and it's an easy catch.
Jerry couldn't even make the left-handed just pin it on your chest catch, in the end zone in the first quarter.
That's a
We've yet
tough
to
one.
see him really make a difficult catch.
That's the other one in game grades, though, where I said, like, DeAndre Hopkins probably makes that catch. Like,
Yeah.
Devontae Adams does. But only those elite guys. 'Cause,
Gabe
like,
Davis?
It might not even. He's not making that catch.
He
He'll
made
make
a
other-
one-handed
He did.
98-yard touchdown
No, but that's
catch.
different. That's different. That's not in the back of the end zone, like, bullet on the chest.
Yeah.
Like, you're catching it right here. Who knows if there's even room for the feet to come down?
My biggest
It's
takeaway,
right over a guy's head.
My biggest takeaway watching the NFL yesterday is there are guys all over the place making extremely difficult plays look effortless. And meanwhile, the Broncos make extremely effortless plays look difficult. And I don't get it. I really don't.
It's like you're just from everything, from like coaching to then the execution. It just looks like we're watching a different game.
They make everything look really hard.
And that's what it's been like for the past 5 or 6 years. And we just thought that was not going to be the case with Russ here.
I think the most obvious part to me is just the hands of the skill position players. Like, you have Cortland Sutton who will make some tough catches. Not like ridiculous catch. He'll make a couple, but not at a ridiculous rate. Like he's very good at making contested catches. He's not special. Jerry Jeudy's doing none of that. KJ Hamler, we haven't seen any of that. The tight ends is where it's a real problem because those are supposed to be your
They're all
possession
just
guys.
dropping catchable balls.
Like that one that was a little
All
bit
of them.
behind
Yeah.
Eric Tomlinson. It's a bad throw. It's a missed throw.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of putting it back shoulder.
Yes.
It was just way too far back shoulder.
for a guy who's just not.
He's not catching that ball. He's not like none of these guys are catching balls
He's an
away
offensive
from their
lineman
body.
running a route. Like, it's got to hit him in the chest.
I know. They got to find a tight end. The more I think about it, the more I think that's just the patch.
Hey, one's coming off the IR this week, potentially.
Think of all the different plays that have been impacted, all the different like near touchdowns that have been impacted by the tight ends this year.
Like when
Eric Sauber drops one in the back of the end zone week 1. Eric Tomlinson week 1 can't get his toe in. Andrew Beck drops one in the end zone this week.
Alberto is inches away from getting in the end zone week 1.
Yep. I mean, at least he made the play.
Yeah. I'm not blaming that on him, but I mean inches.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you have this very outcast group of tight ends who each one of them would likely be the last tight end on someone else's roster, and none of them are making plays for you.
Okay, so then question, who's that on? Because
George Payton.
100%.
But
because when we came
he
into
did
this
use his
season,
most valuable asset this offseason to upgrade that. So because of that, it tells me he was aware of it. He tried to fix it. He can't control the injury.
At the same time, though, rookie tight ends almost never are productive. Yeah. And that's especially true if you're getting guys outside of the first round.
Who was? I wonder who was out there this year that they could have gotten.
That's the other thing. So if the plan was, oh, we'll fix it with a rookie, it's like that's
a bad
idea.
plan.
And it was more so, I betting on Albert Okwuegbunam to do something, and he has not. And so now he was supposed to be like
back to my
that
trust
slight
issues
lead
thing.
horse, and now if he's unplayable, it's like your lead guy is Eric Saubert.
Now, it was on the cheap, but they did bring Eric Saubert back. That was a guy they signed.
Yep.
They also signed
Yep.
Eric Tomlinson.
Beck they had to bring back.
So they just signed the wrong people. And obviously,
Yeah.
probably a way smaller investment than some other
Exactly.
people. But still, I mean, they knew they had to go do things. They made 3-4 different moves. Like you said, they had to re-sign Beck, but I believe they did that before free agency even opened. But when free agency opened, they went out and signed 3 guys. Or went out and made 3 moves, and so far, not much production from them.
Yep.
Trying to see what guys were free agents this year that signed.
Someone saying Hayden Hurst. Our guy Jose saying Hayden Hurst.
See, that would be a difference maker for this offense.
He made a big play yesterday.
He's just a real legitimate tight end who can catch balls. Just having one of those guys opens so much up, especially in this offense right now,
Yeah.
where you have Cortland
Uzomah?
Sutton, and that's almost it.
Although, is he still hurt? I know he tore his ACL in the playoffs.
I don't know.
So he signed with the Jets.
He's a step below Hurst, but still.
A lot of
obviously.
these guys were franchise tag. Tyler Conklin
Yeah.
signed with the Jets.
Really quick.
Evan Ingram signed with the Jags.
Sorry, you can keep going if you have.
Just a couple more. Gerald Everett signed with the Chargers.
That'd be a good one.
Austin Hooper signed with the Titans. I mean, each and every one of these guys, a massive upgrade.
Yeah, a big upgrade. And speaking of big upgrades, we found out, I think the official kind of timetable for Odell Beckham, just because people always say, oh, bring him in. Not till mid-November at the earliest. So
Tried to
for
tell you
people
guys.
that want to beg for the Broncos to sign Odell Beckham, you still have about 5 to 6 weeks until that can become legitimate. So that's why he has not signed with the team
OJ
yet.
Howard has been productive for the Texans.
Yeah.
He signed for
Yep.
cheap. Jared Cook is a free agent right now. He's just 35 years old, I believe.
Yep.
He's a monster in Madden.
But with OBJ, Broncos fans keep saying, sign OBJ, sign OBJ. So that's what every fan base is saying.
Yes.
And OBJ gets to take his pick of basically any team in the league. And so you can't, it's not just like, oh, here's an idea. Go get Odell Beckham. Yeah, everybody knows go get Odell Beckham.
Didn't the Broncos try to sign Kyle Rudolph? And the Giants got him instead?
Was that last year though?
Okay.
I think so.
I think so.
Either way, I'm all the way down at the bottom of the list now, and I'm just seeing names that can help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And clearly the Broncos need tight ends, not just in the passing game, but in the blocking. I mean, Eric Tomlinson was supposed to come in and maybe he's going to catch one pass like he did last year, but he's going to be a great blocker. He has not been a great blocker so far.
That's the tough part. That's the really tough part.
Right.
And it's like, I think Saubert has pretty easily been just the best tight end. I don't even think that's up for much debate.
He was your third last year.
Yeah.
Yep, he wasn't, and he came in here and was the 4th and maybe not even going to make the team.
Yep.
But I
Wild.
think there's one other thing that really, really concerns me about Russ, and I want to tell you about it after I tell you about game time. No Broncos game at home this coming week. Of course, they play Monday Night Football. We all love primetime Broncos ball,
Let's
right?
go.
We love
Hey.
it. I know
Yes.
Broncos country's
America's
excited to see it.
fired up.
I know. This is
Oh,
their
they're
last
gonna be-
chance, right? I guess they have the London game. People will be seeing that one.
And
they
then
have Sunday
Chiefs
Night
at
Football.
home.
Chiefs.
So December. No, November.
Yeah.
That's November.
It is week 14.
Toward the end of November.
Yep,
Is there
toward the end of
any-
November. Maybe Odell Beckham's part of the team then.
I don't want to derail this too much, but is there anything the Broncos can do to change the national media's
50.
mind of them?
Put up 50. It'd take 50.
That would help.
To
That
change
would
the
help.
mind, it'd be 50.
That'd be sick.
It
Yeah,
would be sick.
it
It'd be
would be
unrealistic. If they put up 25 with a win, I'm going to be very encouraged.
You know how
but
incredible
50
that would
is the
be?
number.
They've scored 75 points through 5 games. If they get 50, they would almost have that. I mean, they'd be approaching that. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a statement.
And everyone's ready to turn on Staley.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of just sharpening their knives right now.
That's what yesterday was. 'Cause
Yes.
They couldn't stab
Oh,
him
yeah.
because they won.
Yep. So that's what'll happen. No matter what the Broncos do, it'll be on Staley.
Yep.
is
It
true.
absolutely would. Probably come after a failed 4th down conversion near the end of the game. Kind of reminds you of yesterday. But Brandon hits a field goal or something. But if you want to get to the Broncos game, I mean, you can even go to the Los Angeles game, probably find some cheap flights to get there, cheap tickets to get in the door at SoFi Stadium on game time.
Yeah.
Probably for as much as you will for that Chiefs game in Denver, despite it being a home game, because tickets on game time time are very affordable there. But also, if you want to go to a game 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from yesterday, I should say, Broncos take on the Jets before heading to London. Check out Game Time and make sure to use our link in the description of this podcast. Whether you're looking on iTunes, watching this podcast, or on YouTube, make sure to hit that link.
And I mentioned sharpening knives, and if you want to sharpen a knife and drive it into the heart of your thirst,
Wow.
Liquid Death, baby.
Hey.
Wow.
I've officially put my foot down. I've tried every flavor now. They're all very good, but I am a severed lime kind of guy. Just give me the severed lime every time.
Speaking of sharp knives, just sever that line.
Just
baby.
sever it, baby. Love this stuff. It's delicious. It is keto friendly for me, but it has a nice flavor to it. I think it can be used as a mixer. You can drink it on your own. It actually is refreshing, which can't always be said of carbonated drinks. But because it's so lightly carbonated, which is my favorite part about it, it actually does quench your thirst. It does refresh you in that type of way that sometimes an ice cold water will do, which you could also have that, which is just their mountain water in the white cans. So check out our friends over at Liquid Death, and you can find them near you by going to liquiddeath.com/DNVR.
Also, sign up for a membership with DNVR. You get to read all the stuff that me and Zach are writing every day. You get to comment on the podcast on the website. You get discounted tickets to the tailgates. You get discount at the bar, too.
Yep.
It's another
15%.
awesome special. 15%. There we go. It's awesome stuff. Yeah, I mean, no tailgate this week, obviously, but next week we'll be back at it. You're going to want to be out there, so you might as well make sure that you get the best possible deal by getting a membership with DNVR.
Hell yeah. I'm thinking, so you get your first Avs watch party at the bar this week, at the new bar, I should say. And I'm thinking that the Avs can help the Broncos by just making the Denver sports vibes better. Like right now, all we have is the Broncos and two absolute disasters of college football teams, plus Air Force, which doesn't really make an impact. Sorry, I appreciate the triple option and all that, but
Apparently you don't.
most
Ryan.
people don't. And I just think that maybe the Denver sports vibes could use a helping.
They could.
The other side of this is that hopefully just the Broncos don't drag the Avs down into the dungeon.
I'm not as worried about that part.
Yeah,
That's good.
I don't think
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah,
that
you
means
shouldn't be
that
worried
means
about
it'll
that.
turn around. We just need we need people to smile in Denver. It's why I said on our Thursday podcast or Friday podcast that I was going to cheer for the Rams.
And you did.
Oh,
Look what
CSU.
happened.
I did. See, and now there's people that are smiling. Like I'm not going to be the one to tell them that they didn't deserve that win at all. Like let them have it, you know.
And now, I mean, you're so much a Rams fan that now you're just drinking their colors.
Yep, that's what I do.
Wow.
And Jared helps us out by saying, drop a thumbs up. If you're tuning in on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it. If you hit us with a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on alerts. We really appreciate it. And also, if you're watching on iTunes and podcast form, hit us with a 5-star review. We would really appreciate it. We're quickly approaching 800 reviews, right?
Yes, we need to get there. It's a stated goal.
Stated goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then once we get that, we'll just get 900. But right now, we're going for 800.
Okay, so guys, another concerning thing about Russell Wilson is I think we need to take a little slack off of Nathaniel Hackett, or take a little blame off of Nathaniel Hackett. And first and foremost, I wanted to mention this in the first, but in that Raiders game, I was really hard on Nathaniel Hackett's play calling, specifically in the second half. I think he probably knew about Russ's injury at halftime. So
Yeah.
I want to give him some slack there for not passing the ball as much. I think he deserves some for that. But then really, when you look at the play calling, Nathaniel Hackett's doing his job. He's
Sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. But I should say he's doing his job more than people want to give him credit for.
Yep.
The red
He
zone's where
is-
there's trouble.
He is
Yeah.
dialing guys open, though. I mean, guys are running open, and for the most part, I shouldn't say for the most part, but it decent amount of times, Russ is just not finding them.
Yeah, it's concerning. There's like 5 different layers to my concern for the Broncos offense right now, and it's just so worrisome with the with throwing the Russ injury in there, because it was like there's 4 and now Russ is hurt.
Right.
But it's like, okay, this offense, what does it need to be truly opened up? It needs a strong running game. Well, Javante's gone. It needs a good offensive line. Well, you just lost maybe your anchor on that offensive line. it needs your quarterback to be able to make, the big throws. It needs your quarterback to be able to see the field. All of these things, it's like one thing after another is just adding up that's making it worse and worse and worse. So Nathaniel Hackett has done a solid job at times. And I think that's about the most credit I'm willing to give him. He is doing better than it looks.
Yes, and that was kind of my point. And then so you get to, okay, well, why is it not happening? It's because of Russ isn't finding the. Now there are some times where there's pressure in his face, and there are certainly other things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to Russ just isn't finding these guys open.
Yep. He deserves the most of the blame. He's the quarterback, and obviously the numbers say what the numbers say, which is not good. Everybody in this offense has been making mistakes, though. Like, I think pretty easily the best player, if you don't count Javonte, I guess, is Cortland Sutton. And outside of that, it's just mistake after mistake after mistake. Every single play, somebody is screwing it up.
Yep.
And it just happens to be that Russell is doing that more often than anybody, which makes sense because he has more opportunities too.
That being said, like, Nathaniel Hackett's the one who called the pass on 3rd and 4.
He sure did.
And that is so odd to me. Knowing all that they knew Russ's injury. They knew what he was dealing with.
Yep.
You had gotten this far in the game with him playing horrible.
Yep.
And you were going to win.
Yeah, you were.
And you, in that moment, decided not only to throw it, but again, we assume that the primary read on the play was Tyree Cleveland on Stephon Gilmore. Now, I'm having trouble with, like, what is going on with the reads on plays, because that's another one where Russ only looked to one spot. And, I mean, it was half there, so I get it. But, again, we talked about it at length Thursday and Friday. Like, you just look over there and you're like, kill, hand it off to Mike Boone or whoever was in there, and, take your field goal, take your medicine. Russ probably isn't going to do that, though, because he's Russ. Mm-hmm. That's where Nathaniel Hackett has to take the ball out of his hands, get him under center, and run the ball.
How do we know that didn't happen?
We don't.
And that's just, unfortunately, from everything Nathaniel Hackett has said about empowering Russ and giving him these options to do things, is just where, if Nathaniel Hackett is willing to publicly say how much he's giving Russ, that makes me think Russ probably has even more than we think he does. And so that would be my only pushback to you. But
one of the things that we said in the offseason was a quarterback makes everyone look better. And we were just talking about how Russell Wilson is going to make Nathaniel Hackett look good and all this stuff, and he's just not. Right. And that's the thing. He's making him look bad, right? Which is highly concerning. This injury, there's a reason why Dak Prescott didn't throw for a month, because throwing makes it worse. It certainly doesn't allow it to heal. So the Broncos are stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. They essentially have to choose, try to get a couple wins right now and try to figure out how to work with this right now, or take the risk that by the time Russ is healthy, the season's over anyway, which is essentially what happened to the Seahawks last year.
It will be over if they don't have Russ. I just can't imagine they could go a month without him. I mean, they're under 500 already. So I think you kind of have to grind through. And I guess the other kicker is,
crazy
who
as
knows?
You probably could have won that Colts game with Brett Rippon.
Especially after
definitely.
when Russ went in the medical tent, if he stays in there. Because you know who does not have the option to change the play at 3rd and 4?
And they're not even thinking of it.
No.
Pass isn't even in the world of their thoughts.
No, and also, how did the Broncos get down there? Not by Russ throwing balls left and right down the field. It was a running game that took him down there.
Yeah. You can. I mean, any quarterback should have been able to score 12 points in that game. So,
hey, Brett Rippon's 1-0. His only win on primetime, baby.
Yep. You probably could have got away with it, and then it would have been a different conversation. Because if you won that one, you're 3-2, and you have this 12-day period, and you're saying, okay, well, let's just get Russ through the Chargers game. If we lose, worst case, we're 3-3, and we'll reevaluate there. Then maybe you get a miracle again. It buys you another week.
Another really tough thing is it's great that Russ has 10 days off between the Colts game and the Chargers game, but the bad side of it is then it's a short week the next week. You turn around from a late Monday night game where you're traveling, and then you play the Jets at home on Sunday afternoon. So now you have to deal with the short week right after that.
Yep. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
And I just don't know the answer, because I'm not a doctor, but I don't think that. I think you're getting like if you decide to go forward with Russ like this, that's the Russ you're getting the rest of the year.
It is. And so that's why I think you look at the long term. I think you do. It doesn't really matter that I argue that because it's not going to happen. Russell Wilson's going to be the Broncos starting quarterback in a week from tonight.
And just to push back a little bit and give Russ some credit, a lot of my opinion has changed a lot because of this game. You know, it was more so Hackett than Russ up until this week, and Russ had a terrible game, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, Russ did lose that one. Who's more to blame? It's probably Russ. He was good that first game.
And Russ
he was good against the Seahawks.
He was also very good first half against the Raiders.
Yeah. I graded him out at an A-,
yeah.
and they took the ball out of his
11
hands.
or something.
So, yep.
It's not like Russ has just been terrible. No, he was good week 1. He struggled against the 49ers. He was good against the Raiders, although the ball was taken out of his hand, probably just because of the injuries. And then he was awful on Thursday.
Not good against the Texans.
No, he was not good against the Texans.
So I can't really give him credit, though, because we're talking about in 5 games, 3 disappointing games, bad games, you know, on a scale. There's a big range there. But for me, we're not talking about a rookie quarterback, wanting to see flashes. No, we need to see good play consistently. And with this injury, I'm just worried that that's going to take a while. I mean, we may not be seeing the real Russ until next year. And you hope to see a 90% Russ after the bye week or something like that. But again, if he keeps throwing on it, when Dak Prescott has to sit out a full month of not throwing because in order to heal it, Russ is going to be throwing. Russ isn't going to not practice. Russ is going to be practicing. He's going to be throwing every single day.
That'll be interesting to see. Do the Broncos allow Russ to not throw during the week?
I would be okay with that. I just don't think they would do that.
It's just so tough when he's missing so many throws. At some point, you kind of have to learn how to live with it,
but
too.
Then, are you shooting him up every day before practice?
Yep, probably.
And again, remember, anything that you're doing, you're essentially committing to this for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Especially if it's throw. If you need him to throw Monday through Friday, then you're saying we're pretty much going to shoot him up every day for the rest of the season.
Yeah, 100%. That's why he should not practice fully one day, limited another, and then Friday's practice is typically a walkthrough anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right, you can just pretend to throw.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we technically know what it is, but there's always so much more to it, where it's not the exact same as Dak. Is it something where, it's a little bit more minor than that? It's more like 2 weeks. Or it could be something where, Dak sat out a month, it worked out just fine. It could have been 2 months. So
the other thing is
if we
you
have
have
more
the
info,
luxury of doing that with Dak when the season hasn't started yet.
It's true.
Yes.
So would the Cowboys have done that if they didn't know that Cooper Rush was the best quarterback on their roster yet?
Oh boy.
What a time. Man, maybe a little this league tomorrow.
Undefeated.
Trade for Cooper Rush when Dak gets back?
Maybe trade for Dak when Cooper
there
when he
you
gets
go.
back.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am so worried because we have seen glimpses from Russ, and that was something to build on. And all of that happened before this injury.
Right.
And that's the scariest part for me is Russ was so bad on Thursday. We acknowledge it. I'm with Henry. There's a little bit of revisionist history going on in terms of what Russ looked like before that because it was so bad on Thursday night that everyone's just willing to, everyone's dying to pile on Russ in the first place. And so it was so bad Thursday night that we're kind of losing track of how he was, also how good he was before that injury against the Raiders. So I'm worried. I'm very, very worried about what the Russell Wilson that we're going to see the rest of the year is and what that means for the Broncos moving forward. If that's the Russ you're getting, if it doesn't get better than that, now maybe the PRP or whatever sounds like something you have in Call of Duty. Maybe that works, and you get regular Russ back. But if not, this team is going to miss the playoffs by a lot. And is that going to get Nathaniel Hackett fired, or is that going to get him the excuse of, hey, well, you didn't really have Russ? There's so much up in the air.
There's just no margin for error at this point because now Russ needs to play to his very best self because you're missing Tim Patrick and Garrett Bowles and Javonte and all those guys. You're starting to lose pieces on defense. You're 2-3. And so you can't. You have no margin for error in basically any way at this point, and that's just a really scary place to be given what we've seen.
Yeah, Russ has to be great for this team, and the defense has to continue to do what they've done pretty much every game outside of the Raiders game. Let me tell you where you could be great. At DraftKings Sportsbook. That'd be a great place to be great. Just win money left and right. And they're giving you an opportunity to have a head start on the rest of the competition by giving you $200 in free bets by placing a $5 money line bet on any NFL team. All you have to do is place the bet. You win $200 in free bets right away. It's paid out to you in 8 $25 free bets, which lets you get in on a lot of different things. You can get in tonight on the Chiefs and Raiders game. Just place a $5 bet on either team. Doesn't matter if they win or lose, you get that payout. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this offer. That's promo code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And make sure to check out their stepped-up same-game parlays, which makes it really fun as well. So check out the rules and restrictions in our description. And guys, I got a question for you, but I want to pose it in our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week this week. AFC West on primetime tonight. AFC West on primetime next week. This is what we talked about at the beginning of the season, about just primetime taking, or the AFC West taking over primetime. Who should the Broncos be cheering for tonight? The 1-3 Raiders or the 3-1 Chiefs?
Oh man, it's a really good question because you can make a case for either one.
Yep.
If the Raiders win, everyone is just in a giant logjam in the middle here.
Literally, Broncos, Raiders 2-3, Chiefs and Chargers 3-2.
Yes. If the Chiefs win, they're going to start pulling away a little bit, and they're also pushing the Raiders just out of the world there.
Yep. Literally.
If we're being realistic, the Chiefs are going to run away with this division. And because of that, I think that's what you're rooting for here is just get the Raiders out of here. Push them down another notch, keep them away. You're essentially fighting yourselves for a wild card in the end anyway. So take them as one of the teams that would be in that mix out of there. Anything can happen over the course of the season. A lot can change. But knowing what we know now, especially with this injury, I don't think those switch is going to magically flip for the Broncos and they're going to become a powerhouse. I think their best case scenario is becoming a very competitive team in the wild card race.
Win a 17-15 every week.
Yeah, and I mean they've pretty much given themselves a chance to do that every week, other than probably the Raiders game where they got ran all over, which now looks like even more of an anomaly. But yeah, I think it's a little too early for this, but it's probably time to just accept where this division is headed, and the best case scenario is to just knock the Raiders down a rung.
That's probably right. You do wonder if like the Chiefs lose this one, they lose a couple more. Could all of a sudden the AFC West winner be 9-8?
How crazy
it would
that
be crazy. It'd be crazy.
Meanwhile,
the way things are playing out.
The NFC Beast is back.
Yes, it is.
There's a world in which it's easier to win the AFC West in the wild card, but I'm not ready to go there either. I think you just got to cheer for the Raiders to be done.
Yeah, again, I'm just going off of what I've seen with my eyes.
Yep.
The Chiefs are good.
Yep.
And I'm right there with you, Ryan. Kill the Raiders. Just like you kill your thirst with liquid death. Kill the Raiders tonight. Have their season be over.
It's
have
not going to be
Josh
over.
liquid
But
death.
1-4, it's over. They're done.
I don't know.
The Raiders are done at 1-4. And
I don't think anyone's done at this point.
At 1-4 you are. But that I agree with you. The eye test does say the Chiefs are probably going to win this, so just eliminate the rest. Try to eliminate the competition for that AFC wildcard spot. So I am going with my pick of the week. I'm going with this game, and I like the over in the Chiefs. You can choose your risk that you want to do. I like Chiefs -7. Parlay that with the over at 51.5. That gets you plus 250. You just want to do Chiefs money line and the 7. That gets you to above over 100. However you want to combine those. I think it's going to be a fun game tonight, but I think the Chiefs beat them.
I don't think it's going to be fun, and that's what my last point was going to be was it doesn't really matter what we want. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game by a lot of points. I forget what the exact stat is, but their games against them last year Well, at one point we thought maybe last year was the year that they went into Arrowhead and won. It wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Last year, both games were like insane blowouts. It's like I'm exaggerating, but like 100-16 or something between the two. Maybe
Okay,
like 83-6, something crazy.
Yeah, it was 89-23.
Yeah, there you go. That's a combined score. There's 2 games last year. I think that trend continues. And there you go. Chiefs -7 with a bullet.
And hey, the overhit on both of those games, thanks to the Chiefs. They put up 48 and 41.
And gosh, we talked about how bad that Raiders defense is going into that game. Broncos weren't really able to expose it. They were, I guess, a little bit in the first half, but the Chiefs will expose you even if you're good.
Yep.
Just look at the Bucks.
Yep, exactly.
So they're going to get deeply exposed.
Yep.
I've bet against the Chiefs a couple times this season. I'm not doing it again. Just take the Chiefs -7.
There you go. Easy
Yep.
enough. There's our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week.
Also, hit up our friends over at Hassel Cattle Company. Use the code DNVR for 20% off your entire purchase. Like I said, steaks that'll impress your friends. These things are delicious. They're Texas Wagyu beef. If you don't want to go all the way down the steak route, they have a bunch of other awesome things. They have like a jalapeno cheddar sausage that slaps. They have beef,
Frank's.
Wagyu beef bacon.
Yep.
They have Frank's. They've even got like jerky sticks. All of the stuff, all of the good stuff. So check our friends at Hassel Cattle Company out. Go to HassleCattleCompany.com and use the code DNVR20 for 20% off your entire purchase. They'll ship anywhere.
Also, head on over to SportsFan. They've got a bunch of different Broncos baseball jerseys. I always lead with that because it's always like right there, so it's always on my mind.
It sounds weird, like
Yeah.
without the visual aid.
It's really cool.
It is really cool. I have to talk. I'm talking. I can't go grab it. But yeah, I mean, it's all really cool stuff that they have over there. It's all very unique. It's not like what you find at the team store or like on the internet, any of that. They just have a massive selection of products that you cannot find anywhere else. They've got 4 locations in Denver, one down by like Park Meadows Mall. There's a couple on 16th Street. There's one where we do our tailgate on Federal is the name of that road. So get out there, go to SportsFan, buy some Broncos gear because it's really cool stuff.
It is. It is really cool stuff. Okay, before we get to comments, just a few quick housekeeping notes. Garrett Bowles, Ronald Darby just officially placed on IR. Jacob Bobenmoyer also placed on the IR. I think it was us. I don't know if we were on air or off air last week, and someone made the comment like, well, long snappers never get hurt. You don't have to worry about them.
Isn't that yeah?
That was Henry, I think.
It was crazy. We're talking about it. Yeah, no,
It's just crazy the timing. Because
It-
you're right. I
I
mean, long
know,
snappers
they
should
don't.
never get hurt. But
Did you touch wood?
yeah, I guess not.
we did not.
Well, no,
We were out
because
there
we
at
were
the
told
table.
by commenters last week we were touching wood too much.
That was. I never rode with that comment.
But crazy enough, the Broncos are going to be looking for a new long snapper. Guys, to me, they tried out a bunch of long snappers today. This is the end of Jacob Bobenmoyer. They've been done with him for months now. Now they're finally going to, I think, replace him, although he'll be on the IR for a little bit. And the other move...
First bad snap in 11 years, thanks to Jacob Bobenmoyer. Changed that game entirely.
Wow, it really did. Honestly, yeah, it did. Put them down 9 instead of 8. And then another move, Broncos promoted Kendall Hinton from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. So Broncos get a Hall of Fame quarterback on the roster.
Oh boy. I will say if whoever they sign to be their next long snapper screws up in the next 4 weeks, Bobenmoyer has a shot.
Yep.
Bobenmoyer has a shot. He needs to be rooting hard against this long snapper over the next 4 weeks.
And then one more move. The Broncos brought in Trinity Benson for a visit today. He would likely just take the place of Kendall Hinton on the practice squad. But wouldn't that be something? Broncos get a 5th for a guy that they end up just not having for a year.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Would it be worth it if he would have been the one on the field instead, Tyree Cleveland? Imagine that turns out to be a catch. Those picks worth that
Again,
win.
If that was supposed to be an in route, that is one of the worst routes I've ever seen. So
There's no way though. But that's why, because it would be terrible.
right, it's just hard to know. It's hard to know. Like at the very least, Tyree Cleveland has to work back to that football and just play defensive back on that play.
Right.
Everything about it was terrible.
Yes.
Everything about it was terrible.
Yes. All right, let's get to these comments. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. Just want to say thank you to this community. I think I love this show right now more than I've ever loved it. Just like one of those things, like I love you more every day.
Wow.
This weekend, like I was just like waking up. I was like, oh man, I have some takes I want to say on the podcast today. I was like, oh, we don't have a podcast today. That's kind of sad.
I was so dejected during this last podcast on Friday, but when I was driving home, I was like, oh, it's not so bad. But now I forgot all the reasons why I thought it wasn't so bad, and I'm back to thinking, no, everything is terrible right now. So yeah, I was thinking that same thing.
So shout out to you guys and to the listeners as
Yeah.
well. All right, let's hit these super chats. We start with
Let's start with you.
with Yo Mama Llama says, with the abundance of drop passes, including the multiple TD drops, I feel that the Tim Patrick injury is worse than we thought. Do y'all agree? I felt like it was pretty bad ever since like week 2.
Yeah.
So you all right over there?
Choked him out.
Oh, yeah. Take as much time as you need over
Your
there.
water's trying to kill you.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I drank the wrong kind of water.
That's
You did. That's your problem.
a huge mistake. Yeah, I felt it was a pretty bad injury ever since I just realized, like, as soon as Jerry was banged up and then all that started unraveling, it was like, man, they really missed this guy. Talk about trust. I've been saying that's the Broncos' biggest problem right now is trust. And that's a trustworthy guy right there. Remember, it's so far in the rearview mirror, it's hard to remember stuff like this. Every time Russ talked about his weapons, first name he mentioned was Tim Patrick since the day he got here. So it hurts. You're supposed to be able to withstand that. We said it after. It's like every team should be able to withstand their third most talented wide receiver getting hurt. It's one of the things holding the Broncos back. You can't give it as like a full-on excuse for the ineptitude of the offense, but it's one of a series of things that are keeping the Broncos from being as good as they could have been originally.
And I think why I didn't like it being presented in the way of, the Broncos don't have their wide receiver 3 for the rest of the season. It's really going to hurt them. And I hated that because, like you said, it's the third wide receiver. Yep. I think we just need to talk about Tim Patrick different. He's not their third wide receiver. He's their second or even their first wide receiver. Yep. Then it's okay. Then I'm able to accept that. Because I do think that Tim, and I think unfortunately with his absence, we're really seeing how valuable he truly is, and he's not a third wide receiver. So I do think that that's hurting, and it's not just drop passes. I think Tim just is extremely reliable on where to be and the right time and everything like that.
And the blocks too.
Yeah.
I mean, him as a blocker would be amazing. There were a couple blocks that Jerry missed in this last game where you're just like, if you get those, this run would have been totally different. There was the run, the 17-yarder from Melvin from like deep on their own side. KJ Hamler pulled into the backfield and was lead blocking that. And it worked out just fine.
He did a good job.
That has not always been the case. He also had another really good block on a screen too. But that's not really the point right now.
He doesn't need his body as a wide receiver, so he's just throwing it out there.
So
as a
true.
blocker.
So true. But yeah, I do think that when he first went down, I mean, it's like a big deal. You're losing a good player, but I was like, yeah, they'll be fine. I was way too high on Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler.
Yep.
And then that's the big thing is that, at that point you're thinking, oh, they have so many receivers, they'll be just fine. And now we see those receivers on the field and you're like, not nearly as fine as I expected to be.
Yeah. I mean, just reliability, I think, is the biggest thing. That would have given Russell Wilson 2 guys that he can trust. A guy he can trust on each side of the field. And now he's literally down to one total person on the offense that Russell Wilson trusts.
Yeah, Tyree Cleveland would not be getting receiver snaps.
No, not
like
at all.
that. There's just one tangible thing you could look at and say, like, yeah, you're better off as an offense with Tim Patrick out there.
Yeah, it's rough. It sucks.
Yep.
And
It
all
does
these
suck.
injuries really suck.
Yep.
It does.
All right, next one from Luke. Hey, boys, this pod offers some much-needed peace of mind after the gauntlet that Twitter has been this week. RK is Rule in the Buffs' future.
Of course, he's talking about Matt Rule.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to rule him out here pretty soon.
Wow.
I don't know. I saw odds that he has CU is the 5th best odds to land in.
It's not very good.
I think he was
Top 5.
8 to 1.
Yeah.
There's only 3 teams that fired their coach already. So they're making some assumptions.
I know Nebraska was the favorite.
Yep.
Hating Nebraska, would you like that or hate it?
I am not a big Matt Rule guy. I think it's just his face, so sorry.
Well, you are about punchable faces, so
Yeah,
that
that's
makes
true.
sense.
It just doesn't get me going.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be like afraid of him going to Nebraska.
And there was the report today, I think it was Pelissero maybe, who basically said, like, yeah, Matt Rule right now is not like looking for a head coaching job. Like,
I would never coach again until that money runs out.
Exactly.
No,
like
it
he's
shouldn't
probably
be.
just gonna go to TV. If somebody backs the Brinks truck
He's
up,
not made for
there's like
TV.
5 schools. But it doesn't matter for these guys.
I
Like
know.
if you're just like a recent NFL coach, somebody will throw a bag at you.
Here's my best case for Matt Rule is you're just offering him like, hey, we'll pay you we can only pay you like $1 million a year, but the Panthers will pay the rest.
Right,
So
right.
we can afford you, right?
So you'll get the same money whether you work 80-hour weeks here or whether you sit at home and golf every day.
I know. I was gonna say, why would you even do TV?
You shouldn't do
Because you
any-
get the paycheck.
Your life
Oh,
should-
because that doesn't offset. Okay.
But still, you're getting $40 million in the next couple of years. Why do you
Yep.
need $1 or $2 million more?
Totally.
God fired coach. What a gig.
It's the best if
Yeah.
your ego can handle it. All right, should we hop into the comments on the website?
Yes,
Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it. First one comes in from Mile High Till I Die. My boys, as the weeks go on, I believe in Coach Hackett more and I believe in Russ less. The more time goes on, I think we bought into a cult of personality with Russ, and we brought in a prima donna into our locker room. Well, the good news is he's not really in the locker room. Somebody who's way too self-obsessed, a non-human level of manufactured personality, and clearly wants to dictate the offense to feed his ego and celebrity. Hackett, for all his coaching miscues this far, has been nothing but genuine. He has been a breath of fresh air. He is related to his players, and he's related to us. And maybe it's his fault that he brought in the staff with so little experience, but I feel that with so much genuine passion, intelligence, and ability to connect with his players, that his issues are fixable, while Russell's aren't. I think I'm finally starting to understand why players and coaches in Seattle had so much beef with Russ. He's a lead singer that got too famous and ruined his band. I believe Hackett has the ability to be a top-tier head coach, but we can buy his contract, and we can't buy out Russ. Hackett has stuff to work out, but Russ may have sunk this ship before he ever truly had a chance. I think all of this is a bit much.
Exactly. He's not wrong,
We're
but it
also
just might be a
talking about-
little bit too strong, you know?
We're also talking about the winningest quarterback through 10 years in the history of the NFL. Why would that have just all evaporated when he came to Denver?
I agree with you, Ryan, but people haven't seen that here.
No, they haven't, for sure. And that's why people are
Right.
kind of overreacting this way. But, like, again, not just like a guy who's won some games.
Right.
The winningest quarterback through the first 10 years of his career. Of course he was helped by that defense, all that stuff. But for a lot of those 10 years, it was just the Rush show.
Yeah, not the
And-
past few years.
And the Rush show was winning.
Yeah.
So there's more at play here than just like, oh, Russ isn't relatable and it's ruining the Broncos.
Yeah. No.
and also,
100%.
like, star quarterback, that's kind of a thing that happens. I don't know that Tom Brady is seen as the most relatable player in that locker room, relatable man. Like Aaron Rodgers, I don't think is the most relatable man in that locker room. Again, Russ probably takes it to the extreme of
Yeah.
all that. But star quarterbacks, this is kind of a tendency.
All old quarterbacks are struggling right now. And I say old as like pretty much over like 32. Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron.
I mean, it's weird. All of these guys are having a tough time this year. And speaking of another thing I thought when I watched yesterday is that Tom Brady quote just kept replaying in my head.
Bad
Of
football?
it's just bad football everywhere. Everywhere.
It's true.
Yeah.
And no one really feels all that good right now. The Chiefs and the Bills feel really good about where they are. Obviously,
Eagles.
the Eagles feel
Yep.
great about where they are.
Even the Bills had to come back from a big deficit last week.
Yes.
Like, they've had their shaky moments.
Yep. The Ravens feel pretty good, I think.
But they blew that big lead last week to the Bills.
Right.
But still probably pretty good.
And then other than that, everyone else feels like crap.
Like, the Dolphins are still probably feeling pretty solid, despite, like, they know
They
Tua's
got
coming back
blown out
eventually.
yesterday by the Jets.
I
Yeah,
think
but
the
they know Tua's
Jets-
coming back.
The Jets feel great. And obviously for you
Ooh,
have
the
to put it
Giants.
into perspective of expectations for the Jets, but the Giants,
Yep.
NFC East, what the hell?
But, I mean, when I talk about feeling great, I mean, like, feel like
Like
they have a
Super Bowl
chance to
Oh,
win the
okay.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. Only a couple
It's
teams.
if people were doing a lie detector test, I think it would be the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Eagles are the only teams right now that like feel like they're actually going to win the Super Bowl.
Actually going to, yeah. So, like, the Bucks fans would still feel like, yeah, we're going to be right in the end.
Yes, but like just
Oh,
about
okay.
how like the team feels about themselves. Like
I feel like, I mean, you
I
have
don't know.
Tom Brady. You know, they're
I do have to push back just a little about these other superstar quarterbacks being not as engaged. I do think a lot of them, I think Tom Brady is very well incorporated with his team. I think that's an issue that Giselle probably had with him, was like, wait, you actually want to hang out with these guys? Russ just, I mean, like you said, he takes it to a different level.
He does. And Tom actually really, that's kind of something that he prides himself upon, is like being one of the guys. And I think we've talked about it before, but like Alex Singleton, when he was here, said he played for New England for like a week and he was shocked that like Tom Brady knew his name and welcomed him to the team and was in the locker room being one of the guys during that. Like most quarterbacks really aren't that way.
Yeah. We still do get like the stories about the Russell Wilson FaceTimes. But
Yes.
I mean, they're just similar.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's funny. None of this matters when you win, and when you lose, everyone like people talk about, hey, the Broncos, even if they beat the Seahawks and beat the Colts, they're still not good. I promise you, all these little things wouldn't be coming up. You wouldn't be hearing national media guys shitting on Russ for not giving them an interview at the red carpet. Like,
Right?
Yep.
but as soon as you lose, everyone starts poking into things and trying to look for some new, narrative.
100%. Next one coming in from Kai. Not Kyler says, hey, boys, I'm a big fan of all things QB with Tim Jenkins on YouTube, and this week's breakdown of Russ's play was damning. Play after play, the most constant thing he said was how wide open KJ Hamler was on multiple plays. The guy could have had probably 4 touchdowns against the Colts, but Russ didn't look his way. Tim's film breakdown really confirmed me that there's tons of potential in Hackett's system and that Russ is the primary problem. Guys are wide open all over the place, and he scrambles out of safe pockets and is too quick to check down. I'm very unnerved by Russ's play and hope he can figure it out before 7 years is up. Yikes.
I see. That's my thing, though, where it feels like everything has basically gone wrong. Like, maybe not everything. That'd be extreme to have 100% that went wrong rate, but you're getting pretty close to it. The fact that you do see those little things and say, like, well, what do you need to happen for this to get fixed? You need Russell Wilson to go through his reads better. It's like, that feels like something that should go up. Now, obviously, he needs to work on that, and Hackett needs to talk to him or whatever it is, but it does seem like if things are going to get better or worse, there are way more reasons to think they're going to get better than there are that they're going to get worse, in part because they're 2-3 and playing horribly ugly football.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, Russ playing bad is really just like a 1-game sample of like him looking that bad.
That bad, yes.
I don't know.
That
yeah,
bad.
I mean, that bad.
Yes.
That bad is like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
Exactly.
For sure. But I'm just saying, like, he was kind of building up all the way up to that halftime of the Vegas game is when you could say, like, it's getting better. That was his best half of football all year, and that would make sense with the timeline, right? It takes time to get into the offense, and then it all falls apart. I'm very worried for the short future. But I think going into, like, hopefully he figures this out over the next 7 years is too much for me right now.
Yeah, I'm not obviously going in the next 7 years either.
And I really do think that him, like, getting to his check down too quick, that was a last week problem that was probably exacerbated by the fact that he was trying to avoid getting hit.
I don't know, because we've seen him just go to the running backs more than like any maybe not any quarterback in the NFL, but like he's top 5 in terms of throwing to his quarterbacks and to his running backs and checking down, not just in that game.
Yeah, it's been pretty successful
That's the
though
thing.
up until last week. And it's really the only short passing game the Broncos have right now, which is why I actually kind of encourage it. I want them, because what's happening is those zones are just getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and then there's a lot of room underneath. Russ hasn't worked that area much at all, other than to the backs. But like, you watch the Eagles, man, it's just like short pass, short pass, short pass, long pass, short pass, short pass, short pass, long pass. Like, that's fun offense to watch because they're manipulating the defense and kind of.
We just don't get those long passes though.
But the Broncos aren't doing any of the short passes.
Yeah, they are.
No, they aren't.
11 passes to Javonte.
Other than to the running backs. I'm talking about like slinging. Like when I watch the Eagles offense, it's all just based on logic. Like, oh, the corners are playing way off. Okay, let's throw a little bubble over there. Like,
Great.
It's like so. Just what you think they should do, they do it.
Right.
The Broncos, it feels like they're trying to fit square pegs into round holes a lot on offense. And it's Russ. It's play calling. It's just checking things at the line, which I think they could do a better job of. So you're seeing some of the checkdowns to the running backs, but I'd like to see them work these other guys into the short passing game a lot better.
Sure, I can get down for that. Broncos Superfan says, did the Montforts buy the Broncos? At least the Stanley Cup champs start on Wednesday, and the Broncos can't lose the next couple of Sundays.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Ouch.
it is. The Broncos actually have very rich owners now.
Yes.
And the Montforts would not have given out that contract. There's no way. You think they're going to be in on Aaron Judge this offseason?
I don't know.
They should.
They've handed out some big contracts.
But never like a top 3 ever contract. You know, they're in that next tier.
Arenado's was big, though.
It was
Yeah.
big.
It was.
It was big.
I mean, they're not afraid to pay
Process.
like one player.
Yeah, no, it's not really that. There's everything else for the Montforts.
Yeah. It's just they're not nearly as rich as so many other owners, which the Broncos don't have that issue now.
Yeah. And in baseball, you're literally just as good as your owner is rich, other
Yeah.
than like a couple money ball things.
You
Right.
get lucky.
We should get, if the Waltons bought the Rockies, it would be the best thing that has ever happened to them.
I wonder, probably. Because there is part of it where it's not just like richness of the owners, it's also like how much money can you make,
Right.
you know, because they rarely are losing money. Like if it's the Dodgers, they're still winning the ticket sales. They have like the LA market, so they're getting a bunch of money from that. So I'm curious how they
When
do
you
it.
have $70 billion, it just doesn't even matter.
Could be.
I mean,
Just a
that's
toy.
essentially what Rob Walton said during his first few days here. It
Yeah.
was just like, oh, we just kind of wanted to do something as a family.
Yes.
Most people go on
Yeah.
like a road trip.
Yeah.
No, he just buys an NFL franchise.
Play some Wii Sports.
right on a Saturday morning.
Family bike ride.
Yes, exactly.
Family team ownership. Coach Tobin says, Broncos country, quit the panic. Everything will be okay. 12 games to go, and as far as I've known, 0 comments on social media have made a change to what an organization will do with the coach of QB.
I'm sure people will listen to you.
Yes, the last play of said game, Hamler ran his route. He did not run what was called. He has been doing this for some time. I don't think so. Go check the tape. No play design has multiple receivers in the same area. Food for thought, someone who draws these things up. It was a pick play, though. The whole point is getting the guys close to each other so then one guy can pick the other guy.
My guess is he's referring to the end of the play where Cortland and Hamler were in the same spot.
Oh, yeah.
But like eventually, if a play develops long enough, there's going to be guys running across each other, especially when you're deep in the red zone like that.
Well, and yeah, these receivers are given kind of freedom to try and like sit into open spots. So he ran his route. It was a slant. And he was wide open because the play design, at least as far as I am concerned, the primary read should have been KJ Hamler, and he was wide
Yes.
open. Then after that, you're just kind of, it's like a scramble drill. You're just trying to find open space.
Right, exactly.
Anyways, he said, lastly, I purchased my first ever Broncos jersey. Number 3, Wilson in white. I have not lost faith.
Let's go.
Real Broncos fans, step up or step out.
Yes.
It's too bad you don't get like stock prices on that because you could have gotten
Right.
that for cheap right now.
Oh, yeah, you could have. Right after the news of the injection came
Yes,
out.
exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. That'd be because then like a Javante jersey would be a lot more than a Melvin jersey. But like if
Yeah.
you wanted a Bobenmeyer jersey, that might be $20.
Oh, yeah, it would be.
Like if that's how they were all priced. Russell's like 200.
Would Pat Surtain be the most expensive?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean,
He's the only Bronco whose stock has gone up this year.
true, but Russ would have started well above him. The Russell Wilson jersey, like that's by
Yeah.
far the most popular jersey.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if they switch by now, I'm not sure.
I think so. The Danimal says, well, Russ's celebrity shine wore off quick, and we are left with an A-list wannabe that hasn't earned his teammates' respect. Looks like the former Seahawks player.
He is an A-list celebrity.
He is.
He actually
He
is
is.
A-list.
Yeah.
Sierra's probably
Yeah.
B-list.
No.
No, flipped.
Sierra brings him up. Yeah.
Really? I don't think so.
I actually don't know about. Are they A-list though? When you're talking about
1000%.
all
See, that's the
celebrities?
thing.
I think
Yes.
maybe they're B-list.
No.
Sierra
no.
Sierra on her own is A-list.
Yes. And Russ
I don't
gets to
think
ride
so.
up on that because
I guess
he,
it's just how many people are in A-list.
That's the thing. It's like you're talking like
hundreds.
the big
Okay,
the big
if
guys.
there's hundreds, and
Like you walk
Sierra's-
down the
then
street, you
Sierra's in there.
recognize them. Like
Everyone-
Beyonce is.
Like so many people recognize Sierra. I won't say everyone, but
What
a
is she
large
in the celebrity? Was it you that found the celebrity calculator or something
Oh,
like that?
that's a good one. Yes.
Where does she fall? But in terms of, I like looking at social media
Anyways.
followers. She has 50 million. He has 5.
50 million. Yeah. That's
In terms of net worth, though, It's like
Sierra's net worth
165
is
to 20
$20 million.
Exactly.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, he goes on and says, when you look that up, Hank says, looks like the former Seahawks player knew, or Seahawks players knew what they were talking about. Kyle Brandt called it right when he said Russ tries to act like a celebrity at events and turns people off. And Hamler's behavior post-game, no matter how unprofessional it seems, like a reflection of the great locker room vibe, or of the greater locker room vibe. The worst part is Seattle fleeced us by pulling away a king's ransom. We can't even hope to tank this year because it only helps Seattle. This is true purgatory. If we want to get rid of Russ, we can either cut him and destroy our cap or do what Houston did and give picks away to get someone to buy the big contract and mortgage more of the future. Bottom line is Peyton did us wrong, and the new regime has no loyalty to him. We are on the cusp of watching a total teardown and rebuild, and we have not an ounce of capital to rebuild with. On a positive note, wow, I just snagged my all-in package for London. I'm going to say it right now. Somebody is walking the plank on the booze cruise. The Danimal.
I can't believe some of this stuff. Also, stoked to see you in London. I just can't believe some of the hysterics going on here.
A month in. I would have never guessed, ever.
We're literally trying to cut Russ or trade him to trade picks to someone
Yeah, well, you don't have picks to trade, but
to get them to take Russ's contract after 5 games. They're 2-3, by the way. If they're 0-5, I maybe would be like, I can't defend this. They're 2-3 with a couple inches between being 4-1. I realize they haven't looked good.
No.
But this is wild.
They've gone 2 of the next 3, and all of a sudden they're in the hunt.
Also, on his way to becoming the winningest quarterback through 10 years in NFL history, this is what a lot of Russ's games looked like. It's just the team pulled it out in the end.
right.
Also, Sierra, the 1,296th most famous person in America.
That can't be right.
Russell Wilson. She's not that famous. 1,467.
Okay, so they're close.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think together they are A-list celebrities for sure.
But again, though, like they're not like Jay-Z and Beyonce,
I think
though.
I'm falling with
They're
Henry
literally
here.
just one. They're just tier 2 Jay-Z and Beyonce.
I was looking through this, though. Jay-Z has 10 times as much money as Russ. Beyonce has 25 times as much money as Sierra. Like, that is such a massive gap.
Yeah.
You know?
And as Jose just said, he's never heard a Sierra song.
But that's the thing, though, is you have. You just don't know that it was her.
You've heard dozens.
I don't know about dozens.
She just hasn't been
At least
that
5.
Like
She
6,
hasn't
yeah.
been that. I know she dropped a song fairly recently, but it's not like she's been dropping albums
Exactly.
recently. It's been more so in the past, so I think it's faded a little.
Like
bit.
2008, then yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But right now, like, like famous for sure.
The fact that like I even know who Sierra is.
Begin.
Like
Like,
I only know sports.
how old were you in 2008, though?
16.
And that's when she's a pop star selling out tours.
Yeah,
So, like, again, like that,
That's
you
why
are
you
her
would know.
generation. Yeah.
Right.
fair enough.
You're like 2 years younger. Calm down.
I mean,
Probably
more
at
than
least
that,
five.
but
You're like,
yeah.
From me, I guess you're 2, and I was so
Yeah.
Sierra was big when I was younger.
Okay.
Cooking with Russ says, man, Broncos
really
country.
quick.
Yeah.
Really quick. 1-2 Step on Spotify has 394 million listens.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
How many
good
other
song.
songs do you know by Sierra? though?
I wouldn't have been able
Level
to even
Up?
say that one.
You wouldn't come
No,
on.
just like off the top of my head, I
agree.
wouldn't have been
agree
able
with
to
you.
say it.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. I would have known Level Up because that was one that just came out. But
I wouldn't have known
I think
that
kind of
either.
like Hank said, like I think we all know Sierra songs, but I don't know which ones are.
1-2 Step.
Attached
You
to her
had
name.
to
Yeah.
know.
If you would have
That's
said name a Sierra song, right?
crazy.
Actually, this is a good man on the street thing.
That is really good.
If you would have said name a Sierra song, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But I like obviously knew who she is.
Wow, 1-2 Step was like her song.
Yes,
That's
I
why
know,
it's
but
so
that was
popular.
also in what year?
Oh, a good man on the street is that, and then saying, "Can you name a Russell Wilson catchphase?"
Oh, jeez.
You can say "Go Hawks." You can say "Let's Ride."
That was the only one.
Danger Witch.
Goodies is another one.
Oh, of
Again, if you
course.
hear it, you know it.
Yeah.
Um,
Like a boy.
What?
Stout it? Like a boy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Not
The
to be confused with Like a
classic.
Virgin.
Very true. Very different.
Cooking with Russ hits us with, man, Broncos country is toxic, and Broncos country Facebook is the worst. People
Oh,
over there have
Jesus.
absolutely zero clue what they're talking about. I get the frustration over
That's not
offensive
just
woes.
Broncos country Facebook. Just
We gotta start streaming
the app
live
in
on
general.
Facebook again. That way we can get these Facebook comments in here.
Are we not? Yeah, it's all YouTube. Says, I get the frustration over offensive woes, but can we not love this team through thick and thin? People are talking about walking away from the team or watching other stuff on Sundays now. Win or lose, I love watching the Broncos every time I have the opportunity. I believe in Hackett and I believe in Russ. Matt Ryan and A.A. Ron both had rough first years in a Hackett-style offense, then came back with a vengeance in year 2. So it may take a season before the cooking really begins, but I want to be ride or die with the team through it all. Here's to another epic 24-point come from behind victory next Monday against the fanless Bolts.
God, I don't think I could handle it.
If they're down 24-0 at halftime, that is the only bit of hope you're holding on to, is maybe history's going to repeat itself. Otherwise, everything is going to be burning to the ground in Broncos country.
Yes.
The only thing I would be holding on to is like, oh man, this would be the most Chargers thing ever.
It would be.
I do agree. Like, there's a lot of weirdness in Broncos country right now of just like people being like, I'm done. This is officially it. Like, I'm out of here. And it's like, really? Are you really?
No, they're not.
And also,
They're
like,
back next
what
Monday.
what point are you proving by this? I just think it's weird. I'm with the commenter. Like, I truly enjoy watching the team every time they play. And I joked with you guys this weekend, like, I think I have bad football Stockholm syndrome because, like, I watched the CSU game from start to finish, and I was like, this is fun. This is enjoyable to watch. The next day, I watched Iowa, Illinois, every snap. I was like, yeah, this is good stuff. I enjoy watching these defenses make big stop after big stop.
Illinois.
And so I think I've fallen for the trap, but I'm like, I enjoy the game.
Yeah, I love it too. And man, back-to-back weeks at AFC West. This is what can you believe just 5 weeks in how the AFC West has fallen already?
That's crazy. It is. I mean, but at the
Football
same
is so
time, though, you
unpredictable.
got to turn around and say, like, well, we picked the Raiders to go 0-5. So anything the Raiders are doing, you can't be too surprised about. You know, the fact they have one win, maybe we should be more surprised about. The Chiefs, they have 2 losses?
No, 3-1.
Just one.
3-1.
To the
So again,
Colts.
like,
To the freaking Colts.
there you go. It's the Chiefs. They're 3-1. Sure, it makes sense. The Chargers, that one's probably the most surprising, right? Maybe not to us. Maybe not to Ryan. but
I guess I'm surprised they won yesterday.
yeah. But again, like, they have some injuries. Like, did you expect 2 and 3 from a national perspective? Maybe not ours. No, you didn't. Injuries, maybe that explains some of it. And the Broncos have disappointed.
The Broncos, the Broncos and Raiders are honestly what's bringing the narrative around this division
Yes.
down. The Broncos are everyone's favorite punching bag across the nation right now.
Oh, boy.
And the Raiders are kind of just an afterthought,
Yeah.
but they've already just been put in like the misfit toys bin, you know?
They really
Yes.
have.
So the Broncos are doing a lot of the heavy lifting for like killing the vibes around the division. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs with one stupid loss. And the Chargers are kind of like, I feel like they're exactly what people expected. Like, they're a flawed team. Or maybe it's just me. I don't
That's
know.
just you.
They're a flawed team that like has enough talent to win games.
Yep. Yep. And now Brandon Staley's
Also,
looking suspect.
J.C. Jackson got eaten alive by Amari Cooper yesterday.
He did.
You think the Broncos receiver's going to do that next week?
I can only hope.
It'd have to be Jerry. Sutton's game doesn't really like mesh with that. If Sutton beats up J.C. Jackson, we can really start the hype train.
Jerry's is more, it has a similar game to Amari. though.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
If he just, whatever. PS2 says, hey guys, after rewatching the game, I feel a lot better. I got to say, Hackett should be low on the blame game for this loss. He called a decent game and designed multiple players open. Russ either missed the throw or missed the read. The O-line also had a very bad game. My one critique of Hackett is that there were a lot of developing plays, and the way the O-line is playing didn't give Russ enough time. Broncos country, relax. Even if this offense is average, with this defense, it can still be a playoff team. I will say that's another reason why I just want to see them get that quick game going. It's like, you're not protecting these long developing plays. And you have to kind of build up to it. And especially when you're not getting the run game going, there's nothing stopping those guys from just going.
And especially with the offensive line hurt now. I thought about this today, and it's something that scares the hell out of me. Don't let Khalil Mack have a Michael Schofield game. Don't. And there's reason to believe that it could happen. Now, Khalil Mack is certainly not the player that he was back then, and he hasn't been for a few years. But backup offensive tackles, just don't let that happen.
3 sacks is totally on the table.
Yep.
Like that's just
That
the
scares
case
the hell out of me.
when it's Khalil Mack against
Yep.
these two. I mean,
Yep.
it's on the table. It's
Yep.
a potential outcome. I don't think it's going to happen, but that has to be the most scary part of this game. Either that or the passing game from the Chargers in general, but I don't think that's it. I think
Right.
it is just Khalil Mack.
Oh man, bad flashbacks. And next one coming in from
Last
Melvin
one.
Bronco. Last one says, "My boys, I think George Payton has to sit Russ down and say, I know you want to play another 10 years and run less, be a pocket passer, but Hackett is the coach and his playbook is the one we want. If that means Russ only lasts 4, then so be it. Looks like he's almost lost the receivers. Soon he'll be publicly criticizing Hackett's play calling. Something has to happen. Cheers." Well, Melbourne Bronco wouldn't be George Payton sitting Russ down. It'd be George Payton sitting Nathaniel Hackett down, telling him that's the case. I don't think Russ is the one that has been changing his game to not be running around.
It's interesting seeing Russ. Russ over the weekend somehow became the scapegoat.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he had a terrible game.
He did.
And that's why. Like, if
But
he had gone out there and had, like, the Seahawks game again, we'd be sitting here saying, oh, yeah, 340. I can't blame him.
Right.
I got to be honest. I think this is a bad look for Broncos country.
What?
Just like
Turning-
turning
Oh.
on Russ
Oh,
this
yeah.
soon. It's a bad look.
Month in.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
About 5%, almost 5% of his time in Denver, the 7 years.
Like
Next week will be 5.
let's just say someday down the road, there's another star quarterback who is a free agent, and the Broncos, are in the mix. I would just hope that quarterback didn't see this.
We'll see how it turns around for Russ and see if people buy in.
Yeah, but even then, the fact that everyone was so quick to turn on him
Yeah.
is a bad look for the fan base.
Yep. It is. It's very different than where I think the fan base was like 15 years ago. And I'm not, I've been thinking this for a while, but I'm not sure exactly how to put it into words. It just, I don't know.
You think they're spoiled?
It's the instant
it might
gratification
be.
era.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I think there's a lot of like out of towners. I think that part of the reason you see so many empty seats late in the game is because there's a bunch of people our age who moved here, bought tickets to that game, and are like, oh yeah, kind of Broncos fan, whatever, and then just took off. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but the fan base is definitely changing.
I think so too. Just something to be aware of. I just think it's a bad look. Russ needs to play better, but essentially just like throwing him out onto the tracks 5 weeks in is just crazy to me.
He's here.
Expectations are high. Standards are high.
You've got at least 3 years.
You do. You do.
At
And,
least.
and that's the thing with people saying Broncos should just cut him and move on. No,
No.
They literally can't do that. They
Well,
will
you
not
could eat
have-
$150 million in cap.
You could not.
Could you imagine?
You literally couldn't, though. You just simply couldn't.
Well, you could. You would just be so much worse for the next
the-
3 years.
I
Four
don't
or five,
think you
maybe.
could. How could you build your team?
You couldn't. That's the point.
Right,
I mean, just
exactly.
void years all over Cortland Sutton, void years all over Tim Patrick.
I remember having a conversation with Zach one day, like years and years ago, and after I think it was like Vance Joseph's like 5th game or 6th game, a columnist wrote like, "He's not the guy. Fire him." And I was just like, "There's nowhere to turn from here."
Yep.
So you can only write the fire the coach column once.
Right.
Or else then you're just writing the same column
Yeah.
over and over again. And it's kind of like where I'm at now. It's like, you can't go anywhere from cut Russ.
Right. Right. No, that's it.
They're signed up for 7 years.
Yep. Here's where you could go if you wanted to. You could say bench Russ for this week, blame it on the injury, let him heal, and let him get in a more mentally correct place. You could say that.
Yes.
Because then you still have other places to go.
Yes, but I get it. He's got to play better. I think the fan base has to do a little better as well.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't mind people leaving. I think it shows a big sign to the Waltons.
What point are you trying to prove though?
That you're just not okay with any of it.
I don't think they
There's
thought
no-
they were.
What?
I don't think the Waltons would have thought like, oh yeah, I guess they're fine with it.
The Waltons were ecstatic after their first win over the Texans, after the Broncos' first win, because it was their first win.
Yeah,
and I get why they
totally.
were ecstatic, but that was a terrible game.
Oh, yeah.
I think we forget how ugly that was and just how bad that following week was. It really felt like a loss.
Yeah, leaving that game early is a joke.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
I just unless you're trying to send a message, is your message fire Nathaniel Hackett? Like,
Yep.
you can make that.
That'd be
case.
the only
Probably.
thing it could be.
Yeah, it had to be.
It's not happening.
Interesting. Matt Rule was fired today. I agree. I don't
Matt
think it's
Rule's in
happening.
year 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. Cliff Kingsbury jumped Nathaniel Hackett this weekend for second place.
Did he?
I believe it.
So
That
anyways,
was terrible.
I get the frustration. Everyone has a right to be frustrated. I just think all eyes are on us. All eyes are watching.
They will be next week too, Monday night.
Yep.
We'll
All
see.
right.
I wonder what the ratings are for that. They might be terrible.
Speaking of Monday night, Dre and I coming to you just in a few minutes to give our Monday night bets. So come
Stay
hang
right
out
here.
if you want to keep watching us. Also, thanks for everyone who tuned in today. Hit us with a thumbs up on your way out if you haven't already done that. Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow.